Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? We got some time before everyone gets on. Doing well? All right, cool. Karen's doing well. How you doing, Ann?
Great.
Great. Awesome.
I
Brandy.
went to visit Sabine in Ohio, so I had a really nice weekend.
Oh, so good. So good. Brandy, where are you? Brandy, where are you?
Oh, she has to give us an update on the baby.
He's getting
Yes,
x-rayed.
yes. How's everything going, Brandy? We're gonna assume really good. Awesome. Well, I'm excited we get to talk about energy tonight. And if you're like old school legacy, you'll know like, wait, we talked about this a few months ago, but we have new members inside legacy. And so I think it's really important that we start with we start with wisdom. Okay, Brandy's doing awesome. Good. And we have to get the right perspective of energy to accomplish in legacy everything we want to accomplish, because I believe legacy is going to be characterized by, 6 and 7 figures, major impact, all these kind of massive accomplishments. And it's going to require an amazing level of energy to do it. So that's why I wanted to tackle this as one of the first of the 12 elements. So we have wisdom, which we worked on last month. And so we're going to work on energy today. And it's funny. So who was in the 1.0 call? I think Jamie was there, Alicia, Mo, and so it's like so hard for me to hold back. And you can tell like some of the concepts, I'm like, little hard, guys. So we won't go there. That's why I love our 2.0 calls, because it's like no holds barred. Like we can take anything. We can wrap our mind around any concept. So that's why I get so excited about our legacy calls, because I don't have to measure myself. Okay, this is okay. You try to go with me, because some people are like, I don't get it. And that's okay. Like, think about like years ago, like you probably didn't. So it's like, wait, this doesn't make sense. So this is the place where we can be like, give it to me. I can wrap my mind around this. So I'm super excited about our legacy call, especially talking about energy, because this concept of how we talk about energy is so different than the way the world talks about energy. So 1.0, we talked about the physical, like even getting into like how we treat our bodies and everything, the mental, how we take care of our thoughts, and the spiritual, but it still kind of creeped into like higher concepts. And so now we just like no holds barred. We just go deep with these concepts. So I wanted to start by, let's talk about 10x. Now it's funny because I would have never, ever given 1.0 10x, because it would have screwed up all the thinking. Because like, wait a minute, am I supposed to hustle and grind? Like, what is this? Like, because like in 10x, it's like work. But what I wanted and what I hoped you would see is, all right, if I have this massive level of productivity and I choose not to hustle and grind, then what is available for me? So I want to talk like, what are some takeaways that you got out of that? And I hope it wasn't like to work harder, even though you can hear the underlying like 10x your work. So I think 10x your belief, that does the work. Because even the disciples said, what must we do? That word do, what must we do to inherit the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus said, your work is to believe. So that just tells us, what do we have to 10x? Our physical efforts or our belief? How do we 10x our belief to be interpreted in the physical realm as effort? We know better. So I want to hear you guys, like, what were some of your takeaways?
I'll share mine.
Yeah.
One huge takeaway for me was the idea of like over promise, over deliver, because I had been so programmed before of like under promise, over deliver.
Right.
And just taking like this next level, like legacy level of like mindset to it, of like, and I just love the way that he explained it too, of like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to like under promise anything. So it just gave me like a whole, like it literally blew my mind because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a different perspective for me of like, no, overpromise, and then like working with like God's way. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, then you can level up even more. So it's just like, it's like God pulling you to like a new level. I don't know. I love that. That was a huge takeaway.
Did you listen to the audio version or did you read it?
Audio version.
I can tell you because like how his inflation, like, why would you want to do that?
I was like,
Because I listened to the audio too. And it's funny, he goes way off. Like in the audio, y'all, if you haven't listened to the audio, like the audio is like probably 3 times the material. He's like, oh, that's bull crap. Like that was editor, put that in. Like, let me tell you what really is. Like, it's hilarious. But yeah, and so think about this, like Karen, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Because think about what would it mean to overpromise, like that level of confidence that we need to have in that belief triad. Like I have so much confidence in your ability to change. I have so much confidence in my ability as a coach, and I have so much confidence in this coaching. Like people, like before they come in, like before a client will come in, if I'm having a consultation, I'm like, all right, just be ready because this is gonna like totally transform your life. Like you need to be ready for it, like this to like overwhelm you. And if someone comes in, it's like, oh, I've had this for like so long. And I'm like, oh yeah, we can take care of that. Yeah, no problem. And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, all right, give me something hard. Like that kind of over promising is because our confidence has to speak to our clients so much that they know, okay, something's different here. This is going to be a different experience. But that's powerful. Yeah. Did you guys get that too? That over promise thing? Yeah, that was good. Y'all give it up for Karen. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. All right. What else?
One of the things that stood out to me was he kept talking about the massive actions and be real, like about the amount of action that it's going to take and more of the types of actions, because you couple that with like massive purpose-oriented goals that allow you to show up at the higher level, which really touches on belief. But like really being realistic, like your goal is going to take these types of actions, be clear on that and assess it up front. And so that was really helpful to me because I think that's a dose of reality that we kind of needed a little bit. Like, hey, there is work. You just got to think at the right level, you know, of what types of actions, you know, not necessarily a quantity.
So good. Yeah, give it up for Ben. That's a good one. And it is a dose of reality. Like I remember, you know, someone said, well, I'm not making any progress. I've been working so hard on my business. And I was like, well, what is work? Like, take me through a day. Like, what is working hard on your business look like? Well, you know, just like, you know, trying to get clients. I'm like, oh, so what does trying to get clients look like? And what it looked like was she was taking another training program and she was reading other people's Facebook posts. It's like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Like, no, that's not massive action. That's distraction. That's massive distraction. So yeah, getting really real of what if I am to take action, then what is the highest return I'm going to get? Because I mean, there's 24 hours in a day and some people do crazy things with it. Some people like it just fritters away. Like what happens? And that makes me think when you said like, understand when you set these massive goals, how much action is going to take. So there's a verse in the Bible that says, who would, you know, start a building and not count the cost beforehand. And I remember realizing that that's talking about counting the cost of the faith you're going to have. It wasn't necessarily like, okay, I'm going to build this building. It's going to cost 1.2 million. So let me make sure I have 1.2 million in the budget. I believe, and you know, it's up to everyone, like whatever you want to believe about that. But I believe if our work is to believe, then I believe that God is saying, you better count the cost of the level of faith it's going to require for you to meet this level of goal. And sometimes we think, oh yeah, I got it. And then when poop hits the fan and we're like, wait a minute, maybe this can't happen. That's where we didn't really count the cost. Maybe we need to lower the goal to the level of faith that is required to make it happen. But if we're going to set this massive goal, then what is it? That means we can't be shakable in our belief. That means it's got to be like, no, okay, if it requires walking on water, then I'm going to walk on water, like whatever it looks like. I'm going to plow through it with my belief. So I don't know. It's just a concept that if we truly operate as kingdom people, and again, this is 2.0, like I can share this with you guys, then everything has to be done in a kingdom manner. So now what does counting the cost really look like? What is it going to cost me? I was speaking to the all the business students at a university last weekend. And one of the guys was like, well, it sounds like you're just like, you don't have to sacrifice anything. I said, oh, well, tell me what you mean by sacrifice. And he's like, well, like Jesus sacrificed. I said, yes, he absolutely did. He also said it is finished. So what is left for us to sacrifice? So I'm interested in what is sacrifice. He's like, well, I mean, like to build a career, you're going to have to sacrifice like time with your family, or you're going to have to sacrifice like comfort. And I said, okay, so what is your idea of comfort? Like, going deeper, like wanting to know what he believed about it. And I said, so my belief, I said, totally get it. I get it. And then that will be what you create. But my sacrifice is, can I sacrifice safety and comfort in my belief in order to go to that next level? Can I can I face fear and move beyond it? Like that's a sacrifice. But it's funny because he's just like, what? I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. It's all okay. I'm like, that'll come later. But he was like, but aren't we supposed to sacrifice? I said, well, it depends on what you believe about like all the things. Because you know how we do as coaches, like we always go deeper. And so, yeah, he was just like, okay, so if you're right, I said, well, wait a minute. What if there's no right or wrong here? What if it's, and he's like, but wait, like even that was like, it was okay. I was like, okay, let me scale back here a little bit. Like maybe you just don't have to sacrifice as much as you believe, because maybe God can bless you in all things. So he's like, okay. He's like, okay, let's go with it. So yeah, it is going to require massive action and massive faith. Like a little child, like faith, like it's like look at a little child, like they got it together. She's like, yeah, I believe it. Whatever you say, I believe it. And that's how we get into the kingdom of heaven. And that means like not heaven, but operating in the kingdom way on earth, is have that faith like a little child. It's like, okay, you said it. Let's do it. So what else came out of that? Well, so I'm glad you brought that up. Sorry, I took it on like a million different tangents, but you know me, Ben.
I've got one. I loved his philosophy on commitment and committing. And I just got really present too. I just had a call with my client today. And when I talked to you about office hours a few weeks ago, my heart's pounding. She wanted her husband to be fixed. And then her marriage would be great. And you're like, let her be there. And I did. And she was going to do something to compromise her marriage.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, thank God I had that call. I mean, you can go there, like, let's look at all your choices. And my commitment to her showed up in that. And I'm like, you can go there. You've got kids, you've got a lot on the line, you've got a marriage. You can do it. And then she messaged me that she didn't. And she said today in our coaching call, I almost ruined my whole marriage.
If you hadn't shown up, she would have.
Yeah. And I just totally got present to that. Like it's been nonstop since I met with her. And oh my gosh.
And
Because of my level of commitment.
You didn't say, no, don't you do it. You said, okay. So let's examine if that's the choice you want to make. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get a clear picture of that. Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Gosh. I mean, had I not listened to that, I mean, Grant Cardone of all, I did the audio version. Oh my gosh.
No. Beep,
Greg's, I'll put the screamer on. Put him on.
Do not listen to this with the kids present.
We have an 18-year-old now. It's all good.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but
So
I love it. Like that commitment makes you focus. That commitment brings about it defines the focus and where you're going. And like I was clear about my steps,
Mhm.
but showing up for her and for her family, for her kids, for her husband, for the legacy that she's leaving, and she's up to empowering children.
Mm. So powerful. And look how God used you. That's why we cannot undermine this, what we're delivering to our clients. Like this is life change. This is like
I let the dog out.
generational change. This is so powerful. He's like, let me inside. I know you're having a party. Or did he want to go out?
He wanted to go out of the door.
Oh, he's like, you're boring.
There's food out there.
Yes, yeah, it's way more fun out there. But like we have to realize the impact of what we're doing and get that level of commitment from our clients. Like we're like being so 100% committed. How we show up for them, how we show up for them outside of coaching hours, like how we're praying over them. Like it's just so powerful. Gina, that is just, y'all give it up for Gina.
Thank you.
So good.
So good. Thank you.
So good. And you and Greg are being positioned for a mighty harvest. Like I had a dream about you guys the other day. Like God is positioning you. So, and yeah, he's proving you're proving faithful. Like so good. So
I
good.
received
I
that.
meant
I
to
received
vouch
that.
for you about that.
Thank you. Thank you. I've got questions for you tomorrow. So
Okay. All right. All right. So what else? That is so powerful. Yeah. Our level of commitment. So good. Who else has something? There was a lot in that book. No one else?
This was just like a reminder for me, but the way he just worded it, I don't know, just made me remember like, okay, this is what I need to work on. He said, act when afraid, because if you don't, the fear will build up. Time is what drives fear. And so like, we talk about running towards our Goliath, just run towards our Goliath, but I never really connected it like that time is what draws the fear. When we just sit in it, that's what just drives it to be stronger and stronger.
It's building up and building up. Like just like we build momentum, fear builds momentum.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that illustration of running to Goliath. Like, because I know it's going to happen. That giant is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger in my eyes. And while God in me is bigger than you, okay, this is when I run. Yeah, that's so good, Mo. Give it up for Mo. That's so good. Yeah, we don't realize we think fear stays the same, but fear is malleable and it changes. And I'm sure you've seen with your clients how a fear that was created when they're like 6 and 7 now defines their entire life. I had a client decades, like we were to work through one belief that she established when she was 5. I mean, it's defined her. And then when she realized that, she's like, I spent my whole life. I'm like, wait a minute, no. Exactly how it should be to get to this level, like all the grace, all the mercy. This is the path we had to take. Like, but when you see someone allowing that time to, now that fear just defines them. That's why it's imperative that we get covenant coaches out here now, out in the world now. And we're going to have a wave following this pandemic. We're going to have a wave of teenagers who are so defined by fear, anxiety, and overwhelm. That's why, like Karen, and I know you see it with Kairos, we have got to like position these young coaches to be able to handle these like middle school and teenage people who are now like that. They spent those malleable years learning, I'm not safe. Crazy pants. Yeah. What else came up? Yeah, go ahead,
That's
Jamie.
What stuck out to me was toward the end of the book, he started talking about saying yes to things. Like, and that really struck me, because that's something that is a promise I made to myself, is that it was so easy for me to say no to things. So I started saying yes to things, and then I'll figure it out later. So when he said that, I was like, that's the thing. I'm like, yes, because I'd find every excuse in the book to say no. Like he was talking about going on interviews, and then they would change it at the last minute. But he was like, I don't know anything about this, but I'm still going to show up. And I thought, I'm still going to show up. I still need to show up, and it's amazing what happens when you start to say yes when you would normally say no,
Yeah.
and doing it intentionally and just saying, okay, well, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that was really powerful.
So powerful. Y'all give it up for Jamie. That is so cool. So do you find it hard to say yes, Jamie, now?
No way. No, not at all. I
Yeah.
mean, even I could have, like, this weekend was a perfect example for me. It's because I was supposed to go camping. Well, I've got a slip disc in the lower part of my back, and I've been in physical therapy for 2 weeks, and my shoulder's still healing, and they say needs surgery. I'm holding out, but I was sleeping. I went camping for a weekend.
So
Sleeping
good.
at a Boy Scout camp on the ground, roughing it,
Wow.
and I was like, but you know what? When I was there, I had the opportunity to help 3 different people
Of course.
organically, just talking to them. And then it's amazing how much people want you to listen.
Yeah.
All I did was listen. And then all of a sudden, I'm like walking people away from the campsite privately because there's tears. And I'm like, God put me here. And if I had said no, because I had every reason, and Hannah, a year ago, it makes me cry. A year ago, I would not have said yes. And I would have stayed home.
I know.
And so those 3 people,
And 3 people would have stayed in pain and suffering.
yes. So it's my favorite thing to do now. Is if for a minute I could have an excuse to say no, I'm like, no, I have to do it.
Yeah.
So it's a yes. Yes.
So powerful. Y'all, okay, give it up for Jamie again. That's so good. That's so good. And then when like who authored the yes. Right. And so like it's not our responsibility. I need to share, like I share all my stuff with you guys. You guys know that. It's like, Hannah, I don't need to hear all that, but I share everything with you guys. And the Holy Spirit has put it on me to produce another television series. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have the money for that. And I don't have the team and all the things. And I'm meeting with my finance coach today. Said, okay, so any other thing coming up? And God's like, and I said, yeah, I'm going to need probably probably close to 1.2 million to produce a television show. She's like, oh, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm producing a television show. So she's like, okay, so we'll have to see where we get that loan for. I'm like, okay, let's just work. Y'all, I did not want to, because then I put it out there. Like, it's one thing when God's just talking to you. And now I'm telling all you guys, because it was so like, okay, you need to step into that. I'm like, oh, okay, let's do it. So yeah, it's like when you just say yes, and then it's like, okay, I didn't come up with it. So if God authored it, then okay, you're in charge of it. So I'll just be the conduit, and we'll see where it goes from there. No idea. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of scary, but not. I mean, it's not. I mean, we live one time. We're going to be like, oh, I'm scared. I got to play it safe. Like, what? Yeah. So true. All right. What else came out of that? I'm so glad you shared that, Jamie. 3 people would have stayed in pain. Their life changed.
And it was very organic, just sitting there talking.
Always
to them.
is.
And I'm like, okay, we need to walk this way. Archery's happening here. Let's go this way.
So good.
But yeah, it was beautiful, and it was a blessing.
It is beautiful. Because God just shows up. And we don't even need to question it. And here's the cool thing. He's okay with our questions, but we don't even need to. Because he's like, just do this thing. I'll let you know later. I don't have to tell you now. He didn't have to tell you, hey, there are 3 people's lives you have to change. He just said, go camping.
And like I said, I had every reason not to go. I mean, if
All the
physical therapy saying, I don't know that you need to be sleeping on the ground, or I don't know, I'm like, no, I'm going.
So
Going.
good. So good. And that back is healed. Praise God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's healed. Awesome. Well, anything else that came up? It was a big read. Big meaning like intense, not long, not like War and Peace or something. But yeah, it was intense. Quite an intense person. So anything else come up? All right. Well,
I
let's
do
go-
like how he worded his goals. And I've heard other people do that, but just hearing his, like I have what was it? Saved $100 million, I'm the biggest donor at my church. Like those things that he said, and he's like, I got them, and he's like, those are all things that are beyond my reach at this time, and so, I kind of had to word that like, no, they're not, but I like how he said, I've attained them in his wording. So I listened to that chapter twice.
Yeah.
It was good.
It's so good. I'm putting totally unreachable goals. Like that one part, like how in Covenant Coach Academy and training like leadership and business coaching, where it's like smart goals, like realistic, like why do we have to be realistic with our goals? That the world's way can be realistic. But what if we were unrealistic because we have conformed to the image of God instead of the image of man? And now we can put goals out there that are, people would look at it and it's almost like, wait, who do you think you are? It's like, no, this is between me and God. I can put those goals out there. Like I write down goals every morning, every night in my little tiny notebook. And I have tons of, and I was thinking the other day, if anything happened to me and someone went through my stuff, they would think I'm psychotic. Like, that part, have you ever seen The Shining where he's like, all work and no play makes you, I'm like, someone would come across this notebook and see me writing the same thing. They're like, oh, she was psychotic. She's the killer. Yeah, because look at her notebook. She writes the same thing every single day. So it's like all work and no play. But yeah, I was thinking, is this weird? Is it weird? Am I psycho? So yeah, we have to, Joni's like, yes, you are. If you were confused about that, yes. But yeah, like every night, okay, just writing my same 10 goals, flip the page, write my same 10 goals, write my same 10 goals. It's happening. It's happening. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So shining aside, it is October, so it's kind of thematic. All right, so let's talk about energy in the 2.0 level, the supernatural energy, because we have to think different about energy. By the way, we have a guest coming on at 8:30 and I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to meet her. Ooh, so cool. I have never introduced you guys to her before, so she's a new guest. Powerful energy. So we have to think differently about energy, and we know that we're comprised of energy. And if you've ever wondered if that's true or not, think about when you feel someone stare at you. Have you ever done that? You turn around and there's what? I felt you staring at me, or you come to a stoplight and you're like, oh my gosh, what do you want? You can feel someone stare at you. So here's the crazy thing. What is that? We do notice it. You can feel that. So what is that feeling? So if you've ever wondered, oh, that's hooey, that's a crap load of nonsense, that whole woo-woo energy thing. No, you can literally feel someone stare at you and be like, oh my gosh, is he still staring at me? Is he still staring? Yeah, he is. I can feel it. And so we know it's there. So we have to realize, okay, so what is that? And how can we harness it? And use it, because that is focus. that energy. And we're going to talk about focus. But we, and have I told you guys, I know that some of you have heard this because I shared it within the last energy, but the story about the VHs. Like, who has not heard the story about the VHs? Okay, all right. So our newer members. Okay, so I was on the plane one time, and this one of the flight attendants was coming along and taking drink orders, and I was like, this was years ago, and I was like, man, I haven't had a VH juice in so long. That would be good. Like, I'll have a VH juice because it's healthy and there's vegetables in there, and I'm thinking about it, and then the woman comes up and she asked the person next to me, what would you like to drink? She said, V8. She went, ew, gross. What? I hate V8 juice. Why did I say that? And I was thinking, it's because I was thinking about it. Like, you picked up on me. And so she asked me, I was like, yeah, I'll have a V8 juice. But she's like, so weird. Why did I say that? And I was thinking, like, I don't know why I was so focused on V8 juice, but that was evidently like comprising, oh, like, V8, what are the vegetables? Does it have spinach? Does it have cucumber? Does it have tomato? Like, all these things. And so she was like, catching that. And so have there ever been times when you like are thinking about something and someone says the same thing and you're like, crazy? Yeah. So, and it happens with people that sometimes you're close to in a relationship and sometimes close to in proximity. So we have to understand there is so much power there. And if we understand how to use it, this is supernatural power, power of influence, power of focus, power of presence. So if we understand this, then we know how to use it. So in Philippians 4:13, it says, I have strength for all things. Keyword, all. Jody said it right when I said it, all. We have strength for all things in Christ who empowers me. I am ready for anything and equal to anything through him who infuses inner strength into me. I am self-sufficient in Christ's sufficiency. By the way, everyone has their books, right? Have their books? Okay, cool. So we have to think like this strength and vitality infused into us. This is required to do the work he's put before us. So anything that looks impossible in front of you, like going camping when you have a slip disc, right? Anything that looks huge and impossible, like, wait a minute, if God put it in front of me, then he is now required to infuse that strength into me to do all things. So think about like those impossible, like, okay, so reach, have 20 clients, launch a program and bring in 10,000 people, create a 7-figure business, like all these things, reach every single person in my county with the message of Jesus, like whatever it is, all the impossible things, all God is saying is like, okay, now let me pour the energy through you to do it. We immediately will look at our resources, right? Like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to reach all these people? I have a friend, Deborah George, and her whole ministry is helping people get out of sex trafficking and the drug cartel. That's her thing. And we support her ministry. But like, it would be easy for Deborah to think, oh my gosh, there's no way to rescue every single person sex trafficking. There's no way to get all of these people who are, I mean, she comes to, you know, people with needles hanging out of their arms. There's no way to get all of these addicts off the street. Or she could say, hey, God, you put in front of me all these women in sex trafficking. You put all these people caught up in drug addiction on the street. Okay, now pour it through me. And so now she's partnering with other churches to do outreaches. But if we think like it's me, we look at our resources. But if we know it's God authoring it, then we look at him as our source, and then he pours it all through us. So that's the power of understanding the supernatural level of energy. So like 1.0, we're talking about how to treat our bodies and how to work with our thoughts and how to be open to possibilities. And 2.0, we're talking about an entirely different level of energy, accessing the supernatural. And I want you to think about, what if energy was infinite? What if there was no cap on this? What would that look like? So I kind of want to use that model to talk about the different ways that we can view energy. And first of all, it is inexhaustible. So Romans 11:33 says, oh, the depth of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God, how unfathomable, inscrutable, Unsearchable are his judgments, his decisions, and how untraceable, mysterious, undiscoverable are his ways, his methods, his paths. So here's the cool thing. The depth of God's riches, his resources, his understanding, his wisdom is so unfathomable. But that's where we put a comma, not a period, because it also says that we have the mind of Christ. And Jesus knew his Father. He said, he and I are one. Me and the Father, we're one. So now if we have the mind of Christ, we can now know the heart of God. So knowing that his ways are inexhaustible, we can look at it two ways. We can look at our human mind and say, well, yes, that is exhaustible. Catch me around 5:45 in the evening after I've, been running around all day. And I can imagine Karen with all her students and catch me then, and I will have a very different view on this. Or we could say, if I have access to the mind of Christ, if I can shut off this human part and now transform my mind to be more likened to that of Christ, then now I have access to the inexhaustible energy, to that inexhaustible wisdom, to those inexhaustible resources. All I have to do is switch lanes. And it really is as simple as a thought. If anything were available to me right now, what would I choose? If I had all resources, what would I have? And so it is asking those questions on getting us to think inexhaustible rather than exhaustible. So are you tracking with me? Is this all good so far? Okay, all right, fantastic. So we do have that privilege, and it is such a privilege. Like the veil was torn. We can just walk our butt right in there to the Holy of Holies and say, hey, let's talk. You want me to know you, and I want to know you. So now let's talk. And I have access to that. Like one of the books that we're going to be reading for pre-training, because we're going to start developing a library of pre-training when people, like when they sign up to CCA and don't come in yet. One of that is The Supernatural Power of the Transformed Mind, which is a really good book. If you want to read that, I think it's Chris Valentine. No. Someone else, I can't remember. But anyway, if you guys know, put in the chat. But that power of being able, if my mind is completely transformed to be like that of Christ, then I have access to that supernatural power. So it's inexhaustible, but it's also non-categorical. And this is a big thing that we help our clients with, but we can also inadvertently switch to categorical thinking without even realizing it. And it was the supernatural power of the transformed mind. So we have to realize, like it says in Deuteronomy 28, I think verse 1 and 2, if you will listen diligently to the voice of the Lord your God, being watchful to do all his commandments which I command you this day, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you if you heed the voice of the Lord your God. So it's non-categorical. So all these blessings will come upon you, not some, all of them will come upon you. And isn't it cool? Have you ever stopped to think that we don't come upon the blessing comes upon us? So cool. We just have to put the kingdom first, and then all the blessing chases us down and overtakes us, which is what it talks about in Psalms. So now it's non-categorical. He didn't say, well, you'll have joy, but sorry, you're not going to prosper with your relationships. Or you're going to have a great relationship, but sorry, you got to be broke. Like all these blessings. And I'm reminded of when John the Baptist's followers came to Jesus when John was in prison, and they said, hey, so I think they were making this up, but they said, so John the Baptist wants to know if you're the Messiah. John knew he was the Messiah because he said, behold, the Lamb who takes away the sins of the earth. Like he knew Jesus was the Messiah. I think since John was now in prison, I think his disciples were like, oh, what do we do? Is this the Messiah? Well, I don't want to ask. All right, let's say John asked. Like, that's just my backstory I put on it because I like to see how it all plays out. Because why would they ask? Anyway, John wouldn't ask. But they went to Jesus. They said, hey, are you the Messiah? And he just Jesus said, hey, go tell John what you see. The lame can walk, the deaf can hear, the blind can see, the dead are risen. And he said, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. All healing, all wholeness, all completion. So Jesus was basically saying, hey, look, all the categories of pain and suffering, yeah, I covered all of them. Why don't you just like go tell them what you see? And so we have to understand, when we start thinking, well, if I can prosper here, then I can't hear, it's as true as we make it. And if we subscribe to that way of thinking, it'll be impossible for us to help our clients get out of that. So once we can understand God can bless me across all categories, all platforms, all pillars, and we operate in that, then we can, with total integrity. That's why we're really big with covenant coaching. Like, you cannot help people get breakthrough if you can't get it for yourself. I've seen so many people who call themselves coaches, and their lives, I'm like, how do you help people when it's like you can't, you're not a living testimony of it. So we have to understand, until I can break through, I can't help someone else with full integrity do the same thing. Like, I don't want anyone teaching me, okay, I want to ride a motorcycle. Do I want someone teaching me who has learned on YouTube how to ride a motorcycle? Or do I want someone who like rides a motorcycle to teach me how to ride a motorcycle? It's obvious. We have to do the same thing with coaching. So if we're holding back from this type of blessing, we're also holding our clients back inadvertently, but we are. So the breakthroughs that we're having, like Gina can attest to this, like her breakthroughs, now she lives it. So now she helps her clients go through it. I think all of us have those stories. Like, think about it. If you didn't work on your marriage, Gina, you couldn't with full integrity foresee what is the pathway this person's taking. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about focus. And that's like that energy that you put forth into one area. Now, there's a difference between being able to be blessed in all areas and focusing on all areas. So don't mistake that. I can be open and available to blessing across all categories while singularly focusing in one direction. So we have the power to do that. It says in Proverbs, let your eyes look right on with fixed purpose and let your gaze be straight before you. Consider well the path of your feet and let all your ways be established and ordered aright. Have you ever noticed that when you get distracted, you get nothing accomplished anywhere? But the crazy thing, when you're focused on one thing and you tie a ribbon around it, all of a sudden other categories fall into place. Like, I can like say I'm focused on this, but if I'm like swimming around in confusion or distraction, I'm hurting all areas of my life. But it's kind of like when okay, for example, like Danielle, when she started coaching, she hired someone to come in for a couple hours with their kids. So it's like coaching, zero in. Now coaching closed, kids zeroed in. So now she becomes more to her children and her clients because she managed to leverage focus. So I think, like, can anyone, like, has anyone seen that happen in their life? Like, just raise your hand if you've seen, like, I'm not, okay, all right. And all of a sudden, every area starts showing up that way because it all comes from your thoughts. If my thoughts are focused, my life gets into focus. But we just mistake like focus with I'm working on it. And then we don't have an adequate idea of what working on it, kind of like what, Ben mentioned earlier, like what that massive action looks like, what that zeroed in focus looks like. Okay, so in the flow, I'm gonna make sure I give you guys a break before we come back into questions. In the flow, everyone knows what being in the flow looks like because we learned about it when you went through your training. But that is Ephesians 2:10. Do not be conformed to this world, fashioned after and adapted to its external superficial customs. Wait, no, that's Romans 12:2. That's Romans 12:2. Why do I have Ephesians 2:10? Isn't that right? Do I have that confused?
You got the
You
right
have
verse.
You have Ephesians 2:10 on our book.
Okay, so so someone look up and read Ephesians 2:10, because wait, do I
So-
have it written differently in the book?
You have it written that, for we are God's own handiwork.
Oh my
his
gosh, I was
workmanship.
looking at my notes. Thank you. Will you go ahead and read that anyway? Because yeah, thank you.
Sure. For we are God's own handiwork, his workmanship, recreated in Christ Jesus, born anew, that we may do those good works which God predestined, planned beforehand for us, taking paths which he prepared ahead of time, that we should walk in them, living the good life which he prearranged and made ready for us to live. Ephesians 2:10.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I had the wrong verse there. I'm glad I noticed that. But so this good life that he preordained for us to live. Like, think about that. What if it glorifies God when we are operating in our nature? Like, I was talking with a client today who has a real distorted perception of effort. I need to prove myself. I need to make people happy, so we worked on that. But I was like, why does a toddler walk? Like, who are they trying to make happy? And she thought of us like, it's their nature to just start taking steps. And so we had to talk about, what is your nature like? And then why does a child just, when a baby hears music, they can be 18 months old and they hear music. And what does a baby start doing when they hear music? Yeah, exactly. Like they start moving their body, put on a calypso beat. They're like, hey, I like this. Why? And so I really made her go into that, tell me why? And she realized it is their nature to experience life, to operate in the flow. And then we have to relearn that as adults. Does it glorify my Father? Does it make him happy to see me operating in my nature? To see me adore a sunset, to see me dance, to see me laugh about something, to be fascinated with the concept. And so sometimes that energy, once we're in the flow of what we're doing, and who has ever been coaching and you're in the flow and you're like, it has not been 45 minutes. You're just amazed. Yeah. I coached someone the other day for 3 hours. I was like, what? That had to be 20 minutes, but you're just breakthrough. And so when we're operating in the flow, that glorifies God. And it's time becomes this enigmatic, flowing entity that has nothing to stand on, because now we have made it, we have changed it, we have expanded and contract time. And so if we know that our energy operates in direct correlation to what our nature is, and if our nature is God's nature coming through us, is this okay? Is everyone's tracking with me? So our nature is now God's nature coming through us. Now, whatever we put our hand to, wherever we speak, that camping trip did not feel like a camping trip. It was you just operating in your nature, God flowing out of you. So we have to understand whatever limits this flow is also limiting God, because he wants to just show up and flow through us. That's why he gives us these big dreams. That's why he puts these ideas in our head, because he's give me someplace to go. God's so immense, and he wants to flow into this world, and he wants to show up in this world. And when he sees a heart that is ready and a mind that has expanded its capacity to receive it, it's go time. That's why he says, open wide your mouth and I'll fill it. How big do you want to dream? Because I'm ready. He's ready to change this world. He's ready to show up. This world is in pain, and he's so ready to show up. So let's talk about the new and novel. And I think it's just so fascinating. You can see, before I get to new and novel, you can see the brain change. It's electricity, where the circuitry is going when someone's in the flow. It is so incredible. Look at a brain image of someone who is operating in flow state. And that dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that is the inner critic, completely goes dead, completely shuts off. No circuitry is wired to that. That's that part of your brain that says, you're screwing this up. You're not doing this right. You're gonna mess this up. You better watch out. Completely deactivated in flow state. And I think that's just Holy Spirit saying, let me take over your brain. Oh, okay. I could like geek out of that for hours, but okay. So new and novel. So our energy is new and novel. Consider it wholly joyful, my brethren, whenever you're enveloped in or encounter trials of any sort or fall into various temptations. Be assured and understand that the trial and proving of your faith brings out endurance and steadfastness and patience, but let endurance and steadfastness and patience have full play and do a thorough work so that you may be people perfectly and fully developed with no defects, lacking in nothing. So here's a cool thing is, have you ever like been tired, low energy, and all of a sudden something new and novel enters into your atmosphere? It's like, you know, oh my gosh, like all of a sudden, like the energy like goes from 0 to 10, right? Like when we were all sitting around the other day and my, and I mentioned this, I think in the 1.0 call, and my two sons like surprised my daughter and came home to see her before she left for New York. All of a sudden the energy, like we're chilling on the sofa, the bam, like in the house, like it explodes. And so when the new and novel enter into our atmosphere, our energy level does escalate. Now, did we get more, like, did we get a dopamine shot? Did we get like what happened? Like nothing. Our circumstances changed. And then our thoughts changed around our circumstances. Then it showed up in our feeling. Isn't it amazing? Like you can trace everything back to a thought. I didn't like take a capsule of anything. I didn't shoot up with anything. A new thought entered my head. That's it. And all of a sudden my state changed. So this is what we have to realize is that I am 100% in charge of my state. I'm 100% responsible for that. So now what thought do I hold in order to elevate my energy if that is required at that time? And that thought usually is new and novel. God, show me what I need to see in this. What is another way to look at this? Give me a new story here. What does this make possible? Like any new angle we can take around a current situation that may look hard, like the trials of any sort or temptations, you can say, wait, what is a new story I can create around this? And if you look to the new and novel, then you can have a different thought that now will put you in a completely different state to get a different result. Everyone track with me through that. I know that was a lot. Okay, all right. So, and also he's so willing to supply wisdom. Always, if we need wisdom in a situation, hey God, give me something about this. Let me see what you see in this situation. Because it says that if any of you are deficient in wisdom, let him ask. And he will give without reproach or fault finding, it will be given him. So we can always ask for wisdom. And it is inspired. It's God dwelling in us. That energy is multiplied. Now, here's the cool thing. If here's believer A, here's believer B. So in which person is God more present? Trick question. It's like God is as present in believer A as he is in believer B. All that is different is the awareness of the presence of God in them. So if believer A is not aware of that, they will continue to operate in disempowering thoughts or old limiting beliefs. Believer B may have an extreme level of awareness, and now they have an entirely new thought menu to go to about what is possible for them, what energy they hold, what their abilities are, what resources are available to them now with that awareness of God in them. So I was studying about Joshua and how he was able, remember that time when he prayed for the sun to stand still because he wanted to keep fighting? The night before, he and his troops had walked all night long to get to the battle. And I looked at the terrain because this is what I do, and it's weird, and that's probably why they're going to find old notebooks of me and think I was psycho. But so I looked at the terrain, and it was an uphill march. So they marched all night long, uphill, and then went into battle. And they were so infused with energy that Joshua said, no, son, stand still. I got more fighting to do. It doesn't make any logical sense in the human way of thinking. But if the awareness is so acutely aware and keenly aware that of God in me, then it becomes like a non-issue. Doesn't matter what time it is. Doesn't matter if it's uphill or downhill. Doesn't matter what troops I'm fighting, because it's God in me that's doing the fighting. So if we hold that same awareness around every obstacle we come against, around every new pathway we have to take, around every goal we're setting, then it's like, wait, what if it's not me? What if I'm just the vessel? And then God can show up any way he wants. And that's why it's so powerful. In Psalm 18, 29 through 36, it says, for by thee I have run through a troop, and by my God have I leapt over a wall. As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is tried. He is a buckler to all those that trust in him. For who is God save the Lord? And who is a rock save our God? It is God that girdeth me with strength and maketh my way perfect. He maketh my feet like hinds' feet and setteth me upon high places. He teacheth my hands to war, so that a bow of steel is broken by my arms. Thou hast also given me the shield of thy salvation, and thy right hand hath hidden me up, and thy gentleness hath made me great. Thou hast enlarged my steps underneath me, that my feet did not slip. Like, that is confidence. Like, read that in all different versions. That is just confidence. Like the ground is steady beneath me. I can leap over a wall. I can bend a bow. Like, I can do anything. Like, that is someone who has such a huge awareness of God in them that they're unstoppable. Do you want to come up against that person? Like, not today. So when you have that awareness, does the enemy want to come up against you? No way. It's like, come at me. It's funny. I was having a discussion with my son. He's like, Mom, have you watched any Halloween movies? I'm like, no, I haven't really watched any Halloween movies. He's like, do you want to watch something scary? I'm like, nothing scares me, dude. He's like, so we like back and forth, just like talking trash back and forth. He's like, Mom, even something about a witch and all, like Witcher, oh, it's going to be scary. I'm like, dude, a witch would be terrified to come in my path. Like, that would be scary. That, like, we're just like trying to like one up each other. But I'm like, a witch? Oh my gosh, she would rue the day. He would rue the day. Okay. So yeah, like that kind of confidence is like, come at me. You want to fight? You want to dance? Let's go. Let's do it. So the formula, and this is, we all know the formula, and this is what we talked about the whole time, is basically Romans 12:2. And we know that like we know our own hand. Like, it's like tattooed on our brain, that we know that we're not supposed to conform to the way this world does things, but we're transformed by the renewing of our mind. All we have to do is get to the thought. So if we understand this concept around energy, then all we have to do, and nothing is more exhausting than confusion. Like, I want you to really think about that. Nothing is, like, you can run a marathon. That is not as exhausting as staying in a state of confusion. So if we step into confusion or anxiety or fear or doubt, immediately our energy levels drop. So all we have to do is go to the thought. And we know how to do that because we help our clients do that. But the last thing is extreme, because we are definitely not normal people. Normal is boring. Like, we are not normal people. So the last verse, Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who, by in consequence of the action of his power that is at work within us, is able to carry out his purpose and do super abundantly, like, hold on to that word, super abundantly, like, underline it, far over and above all that we dare ask or think, infinitely beyond our highest prayers, desires, thoughts, hopes, or dreams. So what else is there? Like that is extreme. Like covenant coaches are supposed to show up in the extreme. We're supposed to be the fringe. We're supposed to be like those outliers, those people who are like, how is he or she able to do this? Because of the power at work in me, sorry, and through me to do this. And that's how we show up. We have to show up extreme, because I think the world is going to be changed by people who are willing to believe in this unprecedented power, this inexhaustible power, this extreme power, and are the vessels that God can use to show up in this world. So it is, wow, I finished that right at 8 o'clock. Yes. All right. So let's take, thank you, Anne. Appreciate that. So let's do 10 minutes and then we're going to come back for 20 minutes Q&A. So if you have a question, like write it down. And then our guest is going to hop on in 30 minutes. And I'm so excited about that. So quick break for 10 minutes. See you at 8:10. right, let's get back at it, people. Let's do this. All right. Hey, Bernice, what time is it over there?
Hey, it's 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock Thursday.
Yes, of course. So you can let me know what happens.
It's been good so
Because I'm
far.
not there yet. So you can let me, is it a good day?
Yeah.
Oh,
sunny.
good. Good. I'm excited. All right, so let's do some Q&A. What's going on? We got about 20 minutes till our guest comes on. So what are some questions that came up? That was a lot of material.
Hannah, did you miss doing the inspired one?
No, that was like Karen said, the awareness I was talking about when I was talking about like Joshua,
Oh, okay.
like having that inspiration, like, and think about the word inspired. Like it comes from spirit, which is the spirit of God. So you literally have the spirit of God in you.
Okay.
So that is the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. And then the awareness of that is like, I can do anything. What is impossible now?
Mhm.
And the real crazy thing is the only thing that's impossible is believing that anything is impossible. When you really operate in that inspirational side,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool, isn't it, Jackie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Awesome.
I mean, think about the things that you guys thought were impossible a couple years ago, like owning all these apartments.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
now
it
the only
wasn't
thing that's,
even-
go ahead.
It wasn't even, yeah, we wouldn't have guessed that that would be, something we'd be stepping into, but
So cool.
yeah, now it's getting in his blood.
I know. Yeah, he told me a Voxer about that Montana property. I'm like, dude, yeah, let's do it.
Yep. Yeah.
So cool. So cool.
Yeah, he'll be emailing you.
I love that. It's just so much fun just seeing like, wait, if this is possible, then what else is possible? And then you realize nothing's impossible. And well, just that's when it gets fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. So what are some questions? Well, seriously.
I didn't have a question, but I was listening to, well, I'm doing the audiobook of the 10X.
Yeah.
And it was huge for me to hear him say that being successful is the only option.
Mhm.
Or, because I've walked in that a lot in my life where I'm like not being happy isn't an option. Things aren't options. And so I liked when he said that it's our duty and our obligation, and that makes huge sense.
Doesn't it? I mean, like saying like that, like it's no longer like that's the only option. Because anything less than that, I'm not showing up in the fullness of his glory.
Yeah, and I felt in my spirit when I was reading that and hearing that, I felt the Lord say, it's like we're being lukewarm.
Ooh.
When we're not choosing.
And what did he say about lukewarm?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, spit us out of his mouth.
Spit it out, right.
Oh, but that's what average seemed like, that was the correlation.
Yeah.
Instead of going toward success and that, so yeah.
What if like when he says be hot or cold, because if you're lukewarm, I just spit you out. What if hot and cold isn't like like polar extremes? What if it's just like choose to be extreme?
Mm-hmm.
Like one or the other or this or that, just be extreme.
Right.
Because if you're fitting in, that you're not showing up as kingdom. I don't even want to I don't want you representing me because you're not showing up in kingdom power to make anyone else want the kingdom. I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah, no, it's good. I remember saying that to my kids when I put them into the public school system after homeschooling, and they would be like, I don't feel like I fit in. And I'm like, do you want to fit in? I'm like, I don't want you to fit in.
Yeah.
We shouldn't as believers fit in.
Yeah.
So let's know it,
And,
not
and
always.
we have to think about like, what are we fitting into? It's like, ew,
Mhm.
I don't want normal. Because
Yeah.
I don't want average, because average is characterized by stress and anxiety and
Mhm.
yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. And yeah, if there's anything you want to share, like any comments you want to share or something about, you know, the how principle that you came across. So yeah, this is
have a
just
question.
open discussion.
Was Suzette trying to talk?
I don't know. Suzette, did you want to say something?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I wasn't muted.
Oh, that's okay, babe.
Okay, I just didn't want to jump ahead of you. I have a question in regards to the new and novel thing. Like in my own spirit, generally when I get excited about the next thing, the new thing that God's putting on my heart. But recently I've had a woman, she's in my Wednesday night Bible study, and she's talking about the dynamic that her 8-year-old son really experiences the new and novel with fear, usually. Like he has a lot of fear around that. And I mean, that's not the first encounter that I've seen where somebody comes into new experience or the next thing or change as fear. I know an older woman who also kind of like that's just the framework that they stand in. So I guess starting off with the 8-year-olds, like I want to help the mom with her 8-year-old and like this experience. It's a little tricky. She's not really asking me directly as a coach, but we are in Bible study together, and so it comes up and I have an opportunity to sort of speak in some way, but I don't know, for some reason I'm a little stuck around it. Do you have thoughts around like how to help the child reframe that?
Well, first I would offer to have a consultation with her. Like that'd be the first thing. It's like, yeah, that sounds like this is bothering you. Like, let's definitely set up time to talk.
Okay.
Like number one, consultation. But then after that, like think about new and novel. So don't get that confused with what's unfamiliar. So the unfamiliar can be scary. When you talk about new and novel, like remember about the 6 basic human needs. Like you have stability and then variability. So 2 things, like on one part of our brain likes things to be same old every day. I know what to expect. But then there's another part of our brain that gets bored and wants newness. So that's why, you know, evolutionarily, like we get, okay, so what would happen if I made a printing press? Could I do that? Like we see that through history. People are like, hey, what would happen if I did this? What would happen if I could put a bunch of songs in an iPod and put it in my pocket? And so new and novel drives us just as much as security and stability drives us. So that's that idea of new and novel.
Right.
But the 8-year-old
Can I
is
ask a question?
experiencing. Yeah, go ahead.
So where he's going typically is getting curious around things, but it's from a framework of what if those bad guys over in Afghanistan get over here? What if they get in my house and they want to shoot me?
Yeah.
What if there's bad guys all around us? What are we going to do? What if we can't, like, it's almost like he's exploring that, like he's working on that variability in his mind, but it's in a very negative direction.
But that's not new and novel. That's not the variability. That is fear of the unknown. He basically doesn't know. So he's being exposed to things. And of course, at that age, you internalize everything. Or not even at that age, at that maturity level. So I remember like when I just started having kids and I saw some movie about like, you know, these people from outer space and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to protect my house when aliens come? So, okay, aliens come. If they come in this upstairs, I can get the kids. Like my mind is literally there. If aliens come and attack my house, so the thing is, like whatever we're exposed to, we will internalize that and start developing a method of protecting, like the fight flight, right? We'll go to that. We'll even have the same like visceral response to it. Start sweating, heart beating. And so what's happening is he's somehow being exposed to this. So it has nothing to do with new novel. It's like, this is unfamiliar and scary. I'm going to internalize it. So now that's why I would have a consultation with her. Like, let's do we have like, when are office hours? Like, let's bring that up in office hours, but I would definitely have a consultation and say, this could be like potentially harmful and destructive. So why don't we have a consultation so we can talk about like how to manage this now while he's still 8. So he's not going into like 9, 10, 11, 12 with the same irrational fears determining his behavior.
Okay.
And I guarantee she's dealing with irrational fear as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And more is caught than taught, baby. Beautiful opportunity for a consultation.
Thank you for that clarification between new and novel and unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Totally. Because we crave new and novel. Like anyone, like, okay, I've had the same food from the same restaurant. Like, I want to try something new. Like that's what the new and novel is. Like, I need like some variability. And some people are more motivated by stability. Some people are more motivated by variability, which you can probably see in your marriage, probably, or among your kids. Which is why Larry goes to bed at 9:45 every single night. Stability. Okay, so that's another question or a comment. Anything else come up?
Well, I can ask another question if somebody else doesn't have one.
Yeah.
I was going to share something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. And then like, Larry can ask another question. Yeah.
Great. So the categorical, I can say that.
You said it fine.
God can bless me across all categories. I have been gluten-free for 6 or 7 years and had a lot of overcome a lot of things with health issues and food, and like I had reintroduced corn about a year ago, and it's like, okay, I'm doing good. And so Greg is working at the Rock House, and there's gluten there and amazing gluten things.
Amazing gluten things.
Amazing.
Oh, bread.
I am so tired of not eating gluten.
Well, so why are you seeing it through a filter of deprivation?
I'm not. That's what I'm sharing with you.
Okay. Sorry, I jumped the gun.
Hold on. Hold yours. I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to try something and see how I do. So I've been experimenting, and I'm like, I feel good. Like I'm digesting it and it's processing out. And I'm like, it's okay. Like I had to start with the neutral thought. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
And I'm just saying, like, so I've overcome that. Gluten is no longer a no-no in my life.
Very cool.
No food things that I am shying away from or have a conversation about. I no longer have a thought about it that it's going to harm me. Hallelujah. So what that has opened up is some new areas, and going to finances, and going to where am I going to live? And so we've been traveling, and I've been with Carradine and her husband. They bought their house. I'm so excited, and like that inspires me because we're no longer living in our trailer, but now we're Airbnb-ing it and living in a mobile home. And now I have a house on my vision board, and I'm like, I want that house.
Go for it. Yeah.
And I want property, and like I was letting debt stop me. I'm like, why would God bring that to me if he didn't have that for me?
Right.
If he helped me with the gluten and the food, why wouldn't he want to help me with the house?
Right.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So I'm doing the
Open
work.
yourself up to all wisdom. He has got a million ways to get you that house.
He does.
So open yourself up. God, I am 100% available to all of your ways because your ways are so much higher. Open my mind up to that.
Yeah.
Because if we think there's one way to get into that house, then so many things can pop up and our reticular activating system just shuts it right down.
Mhm.
But if now we're open to all possibilities, like that way, that way, that way, that way, all of a sudden everything starts popping up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So it is
exciting.
a category specific.
Yeah.
God isn't limited like that. And I don't want to limit him like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are the only thing that can limit him.
Yep. So that's
Isn't that
it.
powerful?
I eat gluten.
Hi, gluten.
I have a beautiful
We need to
house.
get her a t-shirt. I heart gluten. She just goes around with croissants hanging out of her handbag. Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Give it up for Gina. Awesome. So good. Mary, did you have a question?
Yes, okay, so I came on late, so if I need to just go back and listen to the recording, you can just tell me. But this had to do with the book. I had a question about the book. So I noticed that in the book there's very like a spirit of hustle in there.
Yeah, go back and listen to the recording.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, we talked about that. About what would it mean to 10x, not in the action, but in the thought realm. Because if we don't hustle and grind, but we can get 10x results, then what would that mean? What would we have to think? But yeah, go back and listen to the beginning of that because it's very, and that's why I would never give this to 1.0. Like that, it would totally screw up thinking. But 2.0 is like, okay, now what filter can I look at this? That is
I was thinking
cool
of the
camera
10X.
work. Look at that cool camera work Alicia's got. Like the focus is on her face. But yeah, we're seeing it like a movie, like through it. But yeah, definitely go back and listen to that because it's important that we understand the filter by which we see all of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm glad you noticed that though. Because that's the way the world operates. The world's like, gotta work harder, gotta work harder. Yeah, we just do things a little different. All right, so any other questions? All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our guest, Carla White. All right, so I'm reading this because I just want you to be as astounded as I am. So after getting an MBA, working at the Pentagon, learning how to speak multiple languages, Carla White found herself living out of her car and eating leftovers off of people's plates. She went from having $47 in her pocket to flying first class around the world through power rituals. Carla became the first woman to launch an iPhone app, and now she has Hyro.fm. She's helped countless people transform their lives via apps, public speaking, newsletters, seminars, books. #1 bestseller, Gratitude, the app, downloaded by thousands, featured on Oprah, NBC, New York Times. And she got a podcast, Radical Shift. And y'all know I bring you the best of the best. So I'm giving you Carla White tonight, who has incredible energy. So guys, welcome Carla.
You guys, thank you. Thank you. And like, what an entrance. I'm humbled. I'm humbled.
Incredible.
I am super pumped to be here. And I honestly, talking about energy, it's really funny because I'm like, it's almost my bedtime and I have to talk about energy.
That's right. That's right. But I mean, I was telling them like you're managing, like I was like, I'm so excited for you to meet Carla. Like not only is she a kick butt mom, she loves Jesus. Yeah. She's changing the world. You have to have energy to do that. So I know, everyone wants to hear a little bit about your story. So if you'd share that, that'd be great.
I'm going to keep it super sweet and short. I'm just going to say I bought into getting the degrees, getting the resume. I bought into all that. I thought, because I grew up on a farm. So like, if I got a college degree, because I'd be like, I got an MBA, and I think I was one of the first people in my family to get a master's. And so I'd be set, right? And it wasn't true. So I ended up with good jobs. I spoke multiple languages, all that stuff, but everything went to the student loans. And I wasn't learning skills that made money, right? I didn't even know how to sell myself, let alone an idea or anything like that. So long story short, I ended up doing the grind, getting the 9-to-5s, and got bored, created an app because I'm a nerd, and just wanted the app. The app is a gratitude journal because I went through a really dark period. My dad had suddenly passed away, and I pretty much put the blame right on my shoulders. Like, it was my fault. Like, my fault he was eating the cheeseburgers. My fault he like didn't take good care of it. Like, I didn't see it that way, but at the time, anyway, it put me in a downward spiral to the point where I was driving down the freeway. I don't know how fast as my little Honda would go, just hoping it would flip, because I thought, like, I don't have a purpose. I'm a burden. I messed up. Let's just end this. And the thing that snapped me out of that, the thing that got me out of that was gratitude. And when the penny dropped and I understood it was gratitude, that's when I thought, well, I got to tell the world about this. Like, this is so freaking simple. Why isn't everybody focusing on what's working instead of what's not working, right? Why aren't we giving our attention to that? And so I created this app, and I wanted, like, if one person downloads it and it takes them out of that depths that I was in, I would have done my job. And here's something cool that I haven't shared with Hannah is it's been on the App Store for, I think it's hitting 13 years or 14 years. In December 8th is his birthday. And one woman team, no funding, no marketing, still on the App Store. And I was just on Tamron Hall show talking about it. So now, like, even more people are into gratitude. I don't even care if you're using my app, like, just have a practice, right? Have an abundance practice, because that's where the energy comes from. It's when we're like into that lack that we start to. So anyway, so that's my story.
So good. It's so good. I love your story so much. And here's the deal. Even your body language just then was like, when you get into the lack, you got lower and lower and lower and lower, you know? And so this, like, gratitude actually shows up in your energy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Okay. Is it okay if I just sort of go on a gratitude rant?
Girl, you got the stage.
Okay.
And plus, wait, I got to tell you this. This is my inner circle. They get it.
Yeah, like, I'm kind of, because I saw a lot of nodding.
Okay, so you can go deep with these people. You can go deep.
Right.
You don't have to say perfect.
So tell me where you want to go. Do you want to go like more money, abundance mindset, or do you just want to go like get some weight off of my shoulders? Like, where are you at right
now? We were talking, so all of these are people who are building businesses, so you can talk about anything. So, and also we've been camping out in energy as one of those elements we really need to grow in order to show up the way God wants us to show up in the world.
Because you guys know it's about transformation. It's not about
because
right. I know your Hannah's women or people. I see a guy there.
We're all coaches. So we're all coaches.
Okay.
So we have to do the transformation work in ourselves in order to help other people.
Awesome. Awesome. You guys are so smart. Awesome. So what gratitude does is, okay, here's the thing. I'm going to get in a little nerdy because I'm a geek, but our brains have a single processor. You know, unlike my nice computer here that has a dual processor, we have a single one. So we can't be anxious and grateful at the same time. So if you're feeling anxious, you can interrupt that. Okay, you can interrupt that anxious with gratitude. Now, the other thing that you're doing, and I'm pretty sure like all you guys are nodding your heads, know that you're carving super highways in your mind to have a default pathway of thinking. You know that. Yeah, you guys are all not, you know that. So you're advanced. So the thing is because we are stepping out of our comfort zone constantly. That's our job, right? We're following our calling, and that means we got to constantly get out of our comfort zone. But the old you wants to harp in, right? And the old you, like, I don't know if you want to call it the old you or Satan, right? That's a little harsh word, but come on, there's like the part that wants to pull you to the negative comes barking at, like, there's a window. Whew, I'm going to jump in that window and I'm going to take this and I'm going to ride her, or just take that person and take them back to, so they don't get out of their comfort zone. And gratitude can interrupt that. And I don't even like to call it gratitude, because then gratitude sounds like you overcame something and boy, am I grateful. Oh, thank goodness for that, right? I like to call it appreciation, because it already exists. You just recognized it. That's mine for the taking. It existed. I have that. That's mine. And that's, gratitude is the common term. And I like that word as well, but really it's appreciation. I appreciate it. I recognize it. And when you start to appreciate things more and more, and, Hannah and I've had the same coach who says, like, you don't even give attention to the outcomes that you don't want. Don't do that. And that's such a slippery slope. It's so easy to right down there. So, it's a muscle. It's a muscle. So a lot of people, how many of you guys, just by show of hands, I know some of you guys don't have your camera on, but how many of you have a daily gratitude practice? Oh, good. No, like, it's cool. You need to, get you on one. So yeah, I'm going to share how I do my gratitude practice. And I'm going to tell you, there is no wrong or right to gratitude or anything like that. So I'm going to talk a little nerdy again about quantum physics. And quantum physics, I saw Ben like light up. He's a quantum physics nerd. Yeah. So no, he's like, no, don't go there. It's too late. All right. So quantum physics says that everything is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It's when we give our attention to it that it comes to be. Okay. Did you follow that? It's everywhere and nowhere. So like, you get a new car, you see that car everywhere. That's it. Like, you give your attention to it, so it comes to being. And that's like, think about it. Why would you give your attention to something that you don't want? Like, because, we all do it. I do it too. Oh, what if? And then you put your attention there and it comes to being. It comes into fruition. It comes into creation. I mean, that's how God created the world. So if we give our attention over and over. So here's how I like to do a gratitude practice. And again, there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. Basically, it's like, just where are you giving your attention to? That's all it is. That's all it is. It's super simple. So the thing is, though, when you write it down and you really think about it again, your body doesn't know if it happened before or later or in the future. So you can write about stuff that hasn't even happened. You can like give gratitude for the stuff that hasn't occurred in your life, and you're giving your attention to it, so it's coming into being. All right, superpower tip. Yeah. Now, here's what I like to do. I like to write down 8 things each day. I know some practices are like, just write down 3 things. That's better than 0. But like, come on, if you're bringing stuff into being, like, let's just, you know? And here's the other reason why I like 8. There's another reason. The word gold appears in the Bible 8 times. Okay. And if you turn 8 on its side, yeah, Joni's got it. It's infinity, right? So, and normally like at about 3 or 4, I'm like, what do I got? You know, so you just tap the surface. And if you go a little deeper, you got it. And gosh, you know, it takes me a few minutes. I end my day with that. That's the last thing I do. And then I go to bed and I think about, like, what do I want to manifest tomorrow? What do I want that to be? Because so easy, close our eyes and what happens, right? Yeah. So it's such a simple practice. I almost feel like I was on Tamron Hall, so it's got a lot of I don't know, attention on my social media, and friends are asking me like, how do you keep a gratitude journal? Which is great, but they're like, how do I start? I'm like, okay, you got one of these and you got one of these. That's all you need. That's all you need. Just write it down. That's it. That's it. And you do that every day. Do you guys want a ninja? Like a really, like, if you're really super stuck, do you guys want, like, this is, okay, you know, when you not need to detox or something like that, like after the holidays, and it's like, okay, this is going to be hard, but I'm going to push through it. So I recommend you get a buddy if you're doing this. But this, like, if you really need to push the energy and like you need to clear the energy in your life, works like gangbusters. Okay, so I call it my 30 for 30. And what you do is for 30 days, you write down 30 things that you love. I love the smell of fresh grass. I love eating chocolate chip cookies. I love, right? Super simple. And you write it down. Now, every day, 30 days. And you don't have to do it all in one go, right? But it usually takes about 10 minutes. Here's the kicker. You can't repeat anything. So if you said, I like playing with my kids, done, check. You got, now what's this going to do is on a, but here's the cheater. You can write about things that haven't happened yet, that you want to have happen. Okay. That's if they've happened. Now, here's what happens in your brain is, have you guys heard of the reticular activating system, the RAS? Yeah, I figured you did. You guys are super smart. Oh my God, you're my peeps. Oh. Yeah, awesome group, Hannah. Awesome.
Yeah, we're your people. Yeah.
Yeah. She said, oh my God, I just love this. All right. So you know what's happening if you're writing that, you're changing the filter of what you want to notice, and you notice different things, and successfully use clues. You're going to notice that clue. You're going to notice those things. So 30 things, 30 days. I love, write and start each sentence. Oh, here's the thing though. You write it down and then you read it out loud to yourself, because it'll have you'll feel it viscerally in your body. You'll feel it. So let me know if you guys do that, because that's a super cool ninja trick.
I love that. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were just talking about how to write down. I write down my goals every day. And we were talking about like, what would be funny? Like, did you ever see The Shining when he's like all work and no play? Like one day when they find these notebooks with the same thing written on every single page, they're like, oh yeah, she was psycho. Yeah, she was.
I got it. Yeah. Just gonna shove that over
30 pages, 30 pages. Wow. Okay. All right. This is who we're dealing with. do a criminal analysis on this personality.
I tell you what, though, when I first started writing in a gratitude journal, it was the exact same thing practically day in, day out. Yeah.
It is.
So,
Yeah, it is. And so, but you have to like train your mind. And you're right, you have a visceral response. So this is another thing we talked about. It does change your state. Your focus changes your state, and you actually can feel that higher energy, which is exactly what pulls all that stuff. You know, we talk about, it's funny because the Bible came up with this way before any law of attraction, but in Psalm, where it says the blessing will chase you down and overtake you.
I like that.
Like this is how it happens. And when you're in line with like God's will for you, and you have his vision, and you're propelled by his indwelling, it's like, yeah, it just happens.
Yeah. And this is our natural state. This is the state that God created us. Like, you look at any child.
We talked about children too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're just going back to your natural state. I almost like, it's probably, but okay. But the residual effect of this is tremendous. Okay, I talk about like abundance and bringing stuff in, because it really is like changing yourself from lack to abundance mindset. But when you're in that abundance mindset, then your health improves. So here's an interesting fact. Let me think. I got to think about the numbers. It's probably changed since like the whole pandemic and everything. But I think like 8 out of 10 Americans are on one prescription drug or more. And 7 out of the top 10 prescribed drugs are for stress-related illnesses. So these are preventable illnesses brought on by stress. So here we are in this vicious cycle of looking at our, like the stress inducers. We all know what they are. And so it's breaking down your health. So if you can break that pattern you can improve your health. The other thing that popped into my head, which was part of a speech that I gave once, and I wish I could remember it in its entirety, but I'll give you the summary. With other people, and there's so much conflict, like, did you vax? Did you not? Are you a Trumpster? Are you a Democrat? Whatever. And so much conflict. And when we see the negative in somebody else, that negative has to come out of them, because that's all they're going to see in themselves too. But if we can see the positive, and this is really what I think Jesus was trying to tell us, like, love thy neighbor, it's, see the positive so you can bring out that positive so we have more positive. Otherwise, it's just a vicious cycle of negative.
That is so good. That is so powerful. Because the world does conform to how we see it.
Yeah. If you see, I mean, we know it in our kids. If you say, look, you're being awful, they're going to be awful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one thing I like to do, especially like with a relationship or something like that, is, and I do ask married couples to do this, is to write down one thing each day that they love about the other person. So like 10 years down the road, you can look at that and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I used to like something about this person, right?
That's so good. Yeah, because it does, like, all energy flows where focus goes.
Yeah.
So all of us are coaches. So we have to have that filter when we have a client in front of us of like, I see them transformed. I see them healed and whole. I see them joyful. And now with how I see them, and then everything that comes out of me is going to directly bring that out.
Exactly.
So
you have so much power just right here. I mean, it all 90%, right?
It's all there.
Yeah. Or here. I probably hear like the connection of the two, but yeah. And we've been so conditioned over the years to see things like, oh, you failed, so you're not good enough. not, oh, you failed. So, hey, you tried, high five, right? Good, you. It's like, oh, you're not good enough. So then we start like berating ourselves. And then that's a heavy thing to carry. So then we dump it on somebody else. And you're like, could you carry this for me? Because well, I can't. I'm like, oh. So yeah. But no blame on anybody else. It's, we got a hypnotic culture that they sell stuff through that, right? They keep people trapped, and it's,
like we are literally unbrainwashing people.
Yes, I would 100% agree. So there was this book that I read called, I think it's called The Storytellers. And it talked about like back in World War II, we had the second industrial age. So we had the first one with World War I, where they made all this stuff and they sent it off to the war efforts. And then the second one after World War II. And so they were like mass producing all this stuff. And our great grandparents weren't buying it because they're like, well, I don't need a new suit. I got one and, it works for 3 generations. It's fine. Or I got a set of pot and pans, or I don't need to buy bought bread. I make my own and I'm very proud of the recipe. So what the government did is they went to marketers and they wrote a story about what it means to be American. And American is, having the white picket fence, 2-car garage, the Cadillac, and all this. So what happened was then people started buying more, and they started to believe that if I buy more, I'll be happier, right? And so what happened was our happiness levels declined, our stress went up because we were accumulating more debt to fulfill this dream, and we bought into it, right? And we're still bought into it. I mean, we got ships sitting out by the dock, and because we just can't get enough stuff, we got to get that stuff. And I buy into it. I love getting my little brown boxes on the doorstep, right?
Every single day.
Yeah, I love it. But you have to put that into perspective. Yeah. Is it the outside stuff? Or is it because here's the cool thing that happened during the pandemic that I thought we're catching on, because what happened then was we stopped creating. We stopped creating. And that's the highest state, is that creation, the imagination, and that went down because instead of creating ourselves, we're just like, well, let's just get it off a shelf to get that boost. And really, and that's the beauty of what you guys are all doing, is you're bringing that back out of people, doing it in yourself to bring it out of other people. So yeah, super cool.
It is. It is super cool. Oh, so good. I know we only have about 8 minutes, but does anyone have a question that they wanted to ask Carla? I would jump on that.
No one.
All the things.
I want to say,
yeah, hi.
Hopefully Lincoln doesn't interrupt, but he might. I think what you just said right now was really helpful. So it's more just thank you for saying this about creation and imagination. And because I realize it's so easy for my energy to jump up when I'm thinking about creating. And lately I've been thinking about that. Am I ever going to get to a place where I don't feel like I need to move to the next thing? But that helps me right there to be like, no, I have to keep producing. It's never going to end. So thank you, because that actually is a confirmation of something I've been praying about and asking God, is it ever going to be enough? Am I ever going to be fully satisfied? But it really comes from creating that fulfills. So thank you for saying that. I really need to take care of that.
Yeah, that's your natural state. Didn't we just all create when we were kids? We were creating playlands and whatever, right? And so as we get into school, they're like, well, don't create, don't daydream, don't talk, don't do all these things that you're meant to do.
Right?
Yeah.
That's so true. It is our and so when we can actually look at that as play, this is where the lines are not supposed, there's not supposed to be lines between what is our work and what is our play. It's our natural state to create, because we are made in the image of the Creator.
Yeah. So I have a little routine, which I call sacred. So it's a touch points that I like to hit throughout the day. So my husband is Chinese, and one thing I notice is that they do like little rituals throughout the day. Like if I give over money, they do like like thank you. And it was fascinating. So I call it sacred because the word is an acronym, and I don't do it in this order. It just helps me to remember. So it's silence, which is for prayer, and then appreciation. And A actually stands for appreciation and asking, right? Not just like asking, who can help me with this? Because when you do that, you start to look and see things different. So just throwing it out there, asking. And then the C is for create. The R is for read. E is for exercise. And then D is daydream, or, let your mind go. So I try to make sure I like throughout the day, go out for a walk, daydream, right? So yeah.
Oh, that is
those
beautiful.
those are my power rituals. Those
Did
are the
everyone
things I
write
do.
that down? I wrote that down. Did everybody write that down? That is so good. And I love how you create and daydream are different.
Yes. Yeah, because creating is actually like, it could be making a loaf of bread. It could be, like letting it go. It could be creating something on Canva or whatever, right?
Or making an app.
Yeah, well, that's a hard thing to do. But like daydreaming, on the other hand, is more connecting, I don't know, with the higher powers. The people who are asking for your solution is really like, you all know there's like thousands of people out there who need you. And so you're thinking, well, how can I better serve, or how can I do this? And that's the daydreaming. How can this be fun for everybody? Yeah.
And it's open and it's available for the Holy Spirit to just say, hey,
yes,
just totally open for that. And also, these are all faith people, so you can you don't have to.
Yeah, I know. I always kind of like, ding. You can tell, right?
We're cool. We're cool, baby.
I love it.
You don't have to do the Cameron Hall thing here. We're good. You always have to be careful who you're talking to.
Yeah, kinda not care. Like I just,
I totally get it.
Yeah.
So
that's good. So cool. Well, I hope this has been helpful. I hope
so much.
I mean, you guys what a beautiful group. What a beautiful group. Hannah, good job.
Oh, everyone here is just, go
I do
ahead.
too.
Yeah.
Hey, Carla, is your app available on Android?
No, I'm so sorry. It is not. Yeah.
What's it called on iPhones?
So it's called it's because I changed it. I think it's New Gratitude Journal. It's got a little Buddha. It looks like everybody calls it the bald baby, but it's got a little cartoon icon. So
a bald baby.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't miss it.
Beautiful.
But
Thank you.
Carla,
I'll see if my
my
clients have an iPhone. I want to recommend it to them.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
it's-
Thank
Yeah,
you.
my one client wasn't saying her gratitude list, and I'm like, oh, that explains a lot.
Yes. And if you do get an app, put the icon on the home screen. So then you see it all the time. It triggers. Karen.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have one question about your acronym of sacred. You mentioned the A being appreciation, but also asking. And you said, who can help me with this? Can you just talk a little bit about that and what that means?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Cause I breezed through it. So what I do is like, if I'm having anything, right? Anything, it might be who can help me with this. Is there somewhere I should go? Is there a book I should read? Or who can I help? Who needs my help? It's any sort of question, but you're not looking for the answer that very moment. It's not going to it may, but you're really just putting it out there, because then what happens is our brains don't like open loops. And so subconsciously you're going to see things that you haven't seen, like maybe glossed over before. So yeah,
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah, I like
Good,
that.
great question. Great.
That's so good. That's so
Yeah.
good. Carla, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank
are
you.
incredible. Yeah, give it up for Carla. She's
Thank
amazing.
you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Carla, I wrap up all of our legacy in prayer. Is that cool?
Oh, can I stick around?
Yes, please.
Oh, good.
Yes,
good.
please. Yes.
Thank you.
Father, thank you so much for this time together. Thank you for Carla, God, and just everything she is doing to transform the lives of people. Father, we just pray supernatural blessing over her family. Guard them, Father. Place a hedge of protection around them. And Father, more inspiration, more creativity. Father, the next level for her. We pray and we just believe that with her collectively together. We're moving into that. And Father, over every single person here today, we thank you that you have the next level for them. And Father, you're going to reveal that, and it's going to leave us awestruck at the magnitude of how you want us to show up in this world for such a time as this, Father, because the world is hurting and you are the answer. You are the healer. So we thank you that you're pouring all of this energy, this vitality, the ideas, the revelation, the tools, the strategies, everything through us right now in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you so much, Carla. You've been such a blessing. Give it up for her again. Love her. Love you, sweet friend. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.